We're 15 right now.
Okay. So what we're going to do in this course is go through the different Midot character traits associated with the different values that we learned. And I'm not going to go from 10 to 1. I'm going to go from 1 to 10. We're going to start off with Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem your God. I'm the Lord your God who took out of Egypt. And we spoke about how this is really, as a core value, is Chesed, is being like God, is emulating God in doing acts of loving kindness and Chesed. So Rav Hutner, I think we mentioned this in the course. Rav Hutner says that the first step in Ruchnius, in a spiritual path, is being able to do Chesed, is coming out of our natural, selfish focus and being able to focus on another person, being of service to other people. I once heard from Rav Moshe Shapiro the beautiful idea that Abraham, Abraham, is no mistake that Abraham is the first of the forefathers, right? He's the first. And what is his character trait? Chesed, loving kindness. So he says there's no mistake there. Of course, it was because Abraham had this maybe innate, maybe he had a good start, but he really was able to see beyond his immediate self and needs. And because of that, he was able to recognize God, and he was able to recognize not only does God exist and God created us, but God does chesed, God does acts of loving kindness. So, he created this world for our benefit. So Abraham also decided that he should be like that. He should follow suit. He should extend the kav, the line, the conduit, right? God created this world. God created this world. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. God created this world, let's say 98% complete. It's a beautiful world. Look around the world. There's, it's unbelievable. Just the human body, the vegetation, the atmosphere, how everything works. I mean, it's just really an incredible world. And our job is to complete it. Our job is to bring the world to its completion, to perfection. And the first step in that is chesed, is doing acts of loving kindness. So I like this psychologist, Edith Eger. She wrote that book, The Choice. So she says, she doesn't ask people, how can I help you? She asks people, how can I be of service? And what she's touching on is a very deep thing, and that is, if I wake up in the morning and say, you know what, yeah, I'm sick and tired of being so self-involved, I'm going to think about other people. What can I do for others today? And you go to someone and say, how can I help you? It's kind of it can be a little demeaning. How can I help you means you need help. You need help, and where can I help you? The sensitivity of how can I be of service, right? How can I be of service to you? Is there anything in which way? Not that you need help, but that I could serve you. Abraham was known as Avram, the high father. He is the giving father. Why? Because when we do chesed, when we do give to others, it is kind of, as a word, God giving to people. So we give to others. It kind of puts yourself on top of them. And part of the sensitivity of being a Baal Chesed is to is to be careful about that. Is to do chesed, to be kind to people without making them feel needy. No one wants to feel needy, right? We all want to feel independent. We all want to feel able, right? It's very hard, especially when we age, to give up some of our independence, to realize our dependence on others. It's a very, very difficult thing, because part of being a Tselem Elokim, part of being in this image of God, is a sense of independence, right? It's a very holy thing. So that there's a very fine line between self-interest and independence, right? We have to find within ourselves the kedusha, the holy spark of independence, rather than being selfish. We don't want to be selfish, but we do want to be independent. So when we give to people, when we are thinking about other people and how we can help them, how we can emulate God and be about chesed, do good deeds, we have to be a little sensitive to not make the other person, don't make the other person, needy because you need to do chesed, because you want to do something good. So it's good to, that's her way of doing it, is not how can I help you, but how can I be of service? Is there anything, anyway, you direct me, I put you on top. Now, when we think about this and we think about, okay, I should get out of my own self and think about other people a little. How can I help other people, the world? Our first thought, it's interesting. I just did a high school course, and on this section of loving kindness on Anochi Hashem, I asked them to do a application to a charity, a letter of interest, an application to a charity for a donation of $50,000 for a project of their choice. And they had to explain what the project was and how they're going to do it. And, I actually copied and pasted the letter of interest guidelines for the students. And it was very interesting, because all of them, went to helping the underprivileged. All of them went to, how can I help the underprivileged in this world? And one wanted to create a mentorship program. One wants to create a food bank. One wants to create a technology way of sharing technology with them. And, we kind of think about it. And I think philanthropists also, we kind of look for, well, who's the most needy person that I could help? We look, who's the most in need? And maybe there is something valid to that. You think, there's, everyone kind of needs something, and we, who's the most needy? Let's help those people. But the Arizal says that when we die, God is going to ask us about all the mitzvot. He's going to go through the whole list. And he's going to ask you, did you do this one? Did you do that one? And when he gets to the mitzvah of Ahavta L'reacha Kamecha, that you should love your neighbor like yourself. So we're going to start, he's going to ask you that question. And then you're going to say, yeah, of course. Once I was, this morning, it actually happened to me. I was sitting outside and some guy was riding on his bicycle, and he stopped me and asked me for charity. It was a bit bizarre. It wasn't a regular case. And I gave him charity. I felt, even though I was a bit suspicious about his need, but, he asked, and he came over sincerely. I tried to help him about where else he could go in, the official places, because it sounded like he would qualify for that. But, I gave him a few dollars. So maybe I'll answer God, God, who was I kind to? I was kind to the guy that came to my door today. So God's going to say, oh, very nice. But did you do, did you fulfill this mitzvah of loving your neighbor like yourself? And by that, he means your neighbor, the one closest to you, the one that lives next door, the one that lives in the same bedroom, the one that lives in the same house, the people around you, your spouse, your family, right? Often people are very nice outside of the house, but when they come home, it's they're not so nice. Someone would ask for help outside of the help, and they're very obliging, and yes, of course, and they go out of their ways, and then at home they're asked to help, and then they're not so helpful. So what does that say about such a person? It says that the help that they're offering outside of the home is really motivated by acknowledgement, right? How they want to be perceived beyond the walls of their house. In their house, they know that they're nothing, right? Who are you impressing in your family? They know exactly who you are. So says the Arizal, no, that's where God wants us to be a Baal Chesed. That's where God wants us to get out of ourselves and think about, how can I be of service to other people? What can I do to help? What can I do to be of service? Okay, there are a few concepts that are very related. One is Chesed and Tzedakah. We often hear about these two phrases. What's the difference between Chesed and Tzedakah? So the difference is like this. Tzedakah, charity, is when there's an obvious need, right? Charity is when you see someone that looks downtrodden, that's begging, right? That is in clear need, that's charity. Chesed is when there's no obvious need, but you are actually going above and beyond. Now be careful. We use the word chesed in a general way and then a very specific way. Meaning, generally, all good that you do for others, any benefit you do for other people is chesed. Whether they need it, whether they don't need it, whether they are starving, whether they're very rich, right? It doesn't matter. When we speak about chesed, we mean in the most basic sense, the general sense of chesed is that I am now focusing on how I can serve those around me. How can make other people around me, how I can be of benefit to them. When we speak specifically, when we speak about chesed and tzedakah, then chesed takes on a more nuanced meaning. And the meaning there is, even though you don't need anything, even though there's no obvious need, a person is okay, they got a roof over their head, they got food to eat, they look okay, but you could still enhance their life. You could still do something. And now that, it takes proactivity, right? There's nothing knocking on your door. No one knocked on your door. Tzedakah normally knocks on your door, whether literally there's a knock on your door or figuratively that you feel bad for them. You immediately feel bad for someone. So then that's to provide for them is tzedakah. When nothing knocks on your door and you say, well, this person doesn't look needy, but how can I enhance their life? How could what service or what benefit could I be to them? And you do that? That is chesed. Now, the Vilna Gaon say, chesed, olam chesed yibana. The world is built out of chesed, loving kindness. Why? So he said, because you have to know, there's chesed ve'emes. There's chesed, loving kindness, and emes is truth. If you invite me for dinner, so I come to your house, I have a nice time, very nice, right? What do I have to do in response? I have to invite you back. Now, is that me doing chesed? No, that's me doing emes. That's the truth. That's justice, right? That's justice. You invite me, I invite you. Where's the chesed? Chesed is when I go above and beyond. So he gives an example. He says, listen, I come to you for dinner and you give me a 3-course meal. I invite you for dinner and I give you a 5-course meal. Not to overdo, not to prove, you have to be careful again, be sensitive, but I want to go above and beyond, right? Chesed is going above and beyond, right? Now, in a very mystical terms, right? God created the world in order to do chesed. Was God missing something before he created the world? Heaven forbid. God is almighty. God is perfect. But he went above and beyond to create the world, to share of his goodness, to do with us. Now, when we think about chesed, so the Derech Hashem, he says, the Ramchal says that God creating the world, what was the chesed that he could do? He could share with himself. That's why we talk about in the world to come being so close to God, is because that's the greatest good that God could do, is share of himself with another. And that's why we talk about delighting in the divine eminence. We talk about being davuk to Hashem, being attached to God. That's why we talk, having this closeness to God. There's no greater pleasure in the world. And therefore, that's the greatest good that God could do for us. And the whole world is created in such a way, he goes on to explain, to achieve that status, right? Over here, we're in the world preparing ourselves, doing what we can in order to align ourselves best with that ultimate pleasure in the world to come. That's really what this whole world is about. It's the path, it's the corridor in which we prepare ourselves before the palace, the world to come. We have to also share of ourselves. When we think about chesed, and I think this is, if I have anything really insightful to share today, I think this is really maybe the most important insight for me, is that when we think about being nice to other people, so we generally think about it in a very superficial way. I think, well, if I say, be nice to someone, what's the first image that comes to your mind? Is helping an old lady cross the street, right? There she is with her bags and whatever, and she couldn't manage, and you went and you helped her. You stopped on the side of the road, you helped someone, you helped someone change their wheel, right? Yeah, Barry, you had a Rebbitzin, yes, stuck, and you had to go and save her, right? Now and again, right?
Yeah.
Give her some petrol, fill her up with petrol, whatever it might be. Anyway, that for sure is chesed, and that for sure we should do. But there's a much deeper way of looking at it, and that is, how can we share of ourselves? And something really beautiful comes out of this, is that you have to know yourself. You have to know your qualities. What are you really good at? What are you good at? Share that with other people, right? Now, some people are very bold. Some people are bold and they'll fight for the truth no matter what. So that is something you could share with other people. People appreciate that. People appreciate, most of us, right, are scaredy cats. When we have any confrontation, when something happens, we try to duck, right? We run away as fast as we can, and we don't face the truth. If you're a person that's gutsy, if you're a person that's able to point out the truth in every situation without getting emotionally entangled into a mess, so then you can be that for other people. Let's say, something, maybe some of the litmus tests, some of the signs about who are we, what are we good at, is think about what have other people expressed? When have other people appreciated you? Right? When have other people appreciated you? That's where you can share of yourself, right? When do you, what do you enjoy, or what do you do even for yourself that you find of great benefit? You know, I was thinking to share something which is personal. It never occurred to me that people, what I enjoy is learning and being insightful. I love insights. I love insights into Torah, I love insights into life, into people. It's all the same thing. That I have seen in my life has been something I can share with other people. Just to say, if someone's going through a hard time, or if someone's celebrating something even, the benefit that I can be often is to give some insight, to point out a point of view which is enlightening, uplifting, interesting, show something for what it is. I seem to have such a power. That's a godly power I have to recognize in myself, to work on that and share that with other people, right? Are you a supportive person? Are you a motivating person? If you are, right, are you a comforting, understanding person? If you know that about yourself, that's what you need to share with other people. That's being very godly. That's not selfish in any way. It's not arrogance in any way. It's godly. It means, God has given me a talent. God's given me some sort of a quality that I can share with other people. You make good business decisions. You're insightful there. Help other people with that. You know how to, you have a good grasp of the Hebrew language. You know how to lane. You know how to, right, to sing. Well, pick people up with that, right? You have a nice smile, right? We all have nice smiles, but you have a particularly nice smile, or you have a good sense of humor. Those are the things where this chesed, this kind of, you understand? To do chesed, to be a kind person, you have to know yourself very well. It's not just enough to wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to do something nice for someone today. That's okay. That's good. Please go ahead and do it. But really, what you want to be thinking about is, what are the gifts that God's given me that I can share with other people? Because that's really where you are your most godly. That's true chesed, because then you are sharing of yourself with other people.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm just thinking a little.
Yeah. I was saying, my chesed that I'm giving now during this time, especially during this time, and I'm not there with my friends in Sea Point and Cape Town, all the people I know. I've been phoning them regularly just to find out how they're doing, and if anything I can help them with anything. That's my chesed, and I think it's a good one.
Excellent, Barry. And I think it's using something you are very talented at, and that is being a chevraman, being someone that's very sociable, that's very kind, that enjoys schmoozing, right?
Yeah. That's what I've been doing. Hello.
Sorry. I wanted to jump in there. I didn't realize I was interrupting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Go on.
I just wanted to. I think what you said, if you want to do chesed, you really need to know yourself. That kind of resounded with me, because on one hand, to do chesed, to put your talents to use, to be a positive influence and a positive presence around others. That's one thing, but it also works in the other way too, because if you know yourself, if you're self-aware, you also know the limits of your chesed. Because if you try to go beyond the limits of your own chesed, let's say you've had a long day and you need time by yourself, but you're going to choose to do chesed. If you don't have the vessels to do that, if you don't have the space to do that, you're going to be doing the opposite of chesed. I'm kind of betraying something personal about myself. I just know when my family has not gotten the best of me because I didn't make the right decision to take my own space, and instead I tried to give when
Right.
I didn't have what to give.
That's an excellent point, Marcus. Thank you for sharing that, because
Welcome.
it's true. It's very true. If you're going to regret doing, or you're going to get in a bad mood, by trying to extend yourself beyond your own capabilities, it's going to be bad. You have to know yourself and say, you know what, I can't do that right now. And maybe there's a way to try and explain it. Maybe there's a way of, a sensitive way of, at least explaining to the people that you're meant to be doing chesed to, that you could be, or who want your chesed. You're saying, listen, I would love to do it. I simply don't right now have the energy, mental space. Please give me, do it in a way that's sensitive, that gives them the understanding that you are, that gives them the understanding that you really do care for them, right? Often what one of the greatest, maybe in Barry, that's what you're saying, one of the nicest things that people can do for you, something we all suffer from, is loneliness. And do other people care for me? Are there people out there that care about Nitzan Bergman? And it's wonderful. It's a human need to feel that we have a place, that we are needed, that we are wanted, that we are loved, right? We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel, wow, there's someone out there that's thinking about me. So, that's a way where, I'm relating back now to Marcus and to Barry of, you could be there for others. You should know your own limitations, but let people know that you care about. Let them know that you're not just interested in yourself. And also, with all these things, there's always, you could do it in a selfish way, right? The person that's really nice to everyone else besides his family is a very selfish person. He's not interested in being nice. He's interested in a good name. He's interested that other people think he's a great guy. That's why at home it doesn't make a difference, so he doesn't do it. So in all these cases, it's best to try, think, stop, and just think, okay, what is my limitation is clear, but what can I do given my limitations? I just want to end with one idea about doing chesed to yourself, about being kind to yourself, going above and beyond to yourself. And I think most of us, when we hear that phrase, make a mistake, and that is we think about, going to the freezer and getting some ice cream and, treating ourselves, right? That's, now I'm doing chesed, now I'm doing loving kindness to myself. And the truth is that's not loving kindness, because chesed is always with effort. Effort, right? Loving kindness is when you do things that take effort. Meaning, just like for someone else, you need to put some effort into helping them, to being of service to them. Really serving yourself is doing something which is uplifting, right? All right. If you need a rest, you need ice cream, take your ice, but don't think you're doing chesed. Chesed to yourself is, let me push myself a little further to learn a little bit more. Let me do another mitzvah. Let me do chesed to my neshama, right? How can I go above and beyond for my own neshama, for my own self, for my own? And the litmus test is, does it take a little bit of effort? If it takes no effort, don't kid yourself. You're not being kind to yourself. You're whatever. You might be pleasure that you need or something. But real chesed to oneself is, got to think about it in terms of, okay, how can I go above and beyond of being of benefit to myself? Not in spoiling myself, but being in benefit to myself. Okay, So that's today's class, and hopefully you've enjoyed this. And we're going to
Very good.
continue on Thursday with the next Mida.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. See you
Bye,
Thursday.
guys.
Bye.
Thursday.
Bye.